In the Pentecostal church of my childhood, and you've probably heard me say this many times, I knew that when we read this passage about Jesus washing his disciples' feet, that the deacons would soon bring out the wash basins, and that my father, the pastor, would wrap a towel around his waist to wash everyone's feet. And I hated it. I did not want to take my shoes off. I did not want my feet to be washed. It made me feel too vulnerable. I felt exposed. I felt uncomfortable. I didn't want you to see my socks because they probably weren't the best socks I picked that day because I came to church kicking and screaming anyway. I did not want to do this. And at the same time that I was turning up my nose at foot washing, I was also ready to get home so I can put my earphones on and listen to that song from Foreigner. I want to know what love is. Do you remember that song? I knew you would. I loved that song. And if you don't know the lyrics, is I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. And I couldn't at that age, or I didn't want to. It would be years later before I realized that there was a connection I could have made between what was happening in the foot washing and the lyric of that song. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Because that, I think, is what we often miss in reading this. At worst, we leave the experience of foot washing too focused on the spiritually superficial idea of clean and unclean. I want you to know that Jesus did not even mention the word clean until Peter misunderstood. So this whole act of foot washing, sometimes we walk away with this ridiculous notion that it's about being clean and unclean, incorrectly concluding that we carry some spiritual stain. That's not what Jesus was talking about. And at best, we assume that it is as simple as remembering to serve others without realizing that serving others is not always going to be easy. That real service sometimes cost. Now, we usually read this text during Holy Week on Maundy, Thursday. This year, we are reading it in the first half of the season of Lent. And I think by doing so, we get the opportunity to dive deeper into the meaning of what Jesus was doing when he washed his disciples' feet. I think we now have an opportunity to see what it means, as we're doing during this Lent, to return and follow God. Not just for us personally, but also for how we show up in the world. It happened at Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples. All four Gospels have an account of the Last Supper. But only in the Gospel of John do we have this story of Jesus washing feet. And I truly appreciate that John expands our imagination about all that could have possibly transpired on that last night Jesus spent with his friends. Leonardo da Vinci has etched an image of the Last Supper in our minds. And we've seen this picture. If you also watched that movie, The Da Vinci Code, it was the whole crux of the movie. But we have this image of the Last Supper. And I hope that when we see that image, we not only remember Jesus' display of selfless love and service to his disciples, but I want us to open our imagination about all that could have been said that night. All the things that Jesus wanted to get out that night. Knowing what was about to happen, everything he wanted to say, realizing that time was short. As you recall, after Jesus called a very dead Lazarus from his tomb, the authorities put out what our current law enforcement calls a bolo. Be on the lookout for him. Because they wanted to arrest him. and they wanted to kill him. It is now clear that they will be satisfied with nothing less than Jesus' death. So Jesus knows that his hour, meaning his crucifixion, his resurrection, his ascension, it's all about to occur right now. And he is going back to be with God. And it will be the last meal with his friends that Jesus wants to bring it all together. When he will try to give them everything they need to continue this work when he is physically no longer with them. God had accomplished in Jesus everything that Jesus was to do in our midst. And now it's time for those friends around the table to go and do the work. And Jesus sets his transition of ministry to his disciple in the motion of washing their feet, an act of selfless love and service. He humbles himself. He takes the role of both slave and host to wash the feet of his disciples. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Jesus is about to show them what love truly means. But the disciples thought it was just a simple act of removing dirt. Leave it to them to think that. Simple act, removing dirt. Peter couldn't take it. He finds it hard not to see Jesus through the imperial lens of power, authority, and hierarchy. Oh, you will never lower yourself, my Messiah and King. You will never lower yourself to wash my feet. Never. For Peter, it simply could not be that the one who he has come to know as the Son of God should lower himself to the status of slave to wash his dirty feet. You will not wash my feet. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Oh, but this was so much more than washing the disciples' dirty feet. This was a ritual of service and communion. Yes, that's right. Not breaking of the bread right now, but a service of communion. This is about the Word made flesh, the Son of God, totally giving himself to them. Showing them love. How dare a teacher and Messiah do this, lower himself? Jesus was showing them what love looks like. It looks, not to put a finer point on it, it looks weird. Love looks strange when someone of such a high status would lower himself to serve. Love confounds us. Love reverses things. Love upends what we expect that people ought to be doing. This is the Word made flesh. This is God making known to them that they are intimately and inextricably connected to the one who is life and light. In this act of being washed by the one who in the beginning was with God and was God means that they have been transformed into witnesses. Peter, to be washed by Jesus in this way, don't you get it? You are now being transformed. You are now going to go out and make the presence of God known in the world. And when Jesus told Peter, if I can't wash your feet, if I can't show you love, if you can't accept the love I'm showing, then you can't be in this community. If I can't show you how much I love you, if I can't serve you, then you got the wrong community. You got the wrong community. Peter realized then that he was risking relationship with Jesus, who changed his life. I know now, this is not about removing dirt. So then Peter said, wash all of me. Peter still didn't quite get it. Wash all of me. But I want us to understand that wash all of me is more than asking Jesus to remove dirt. When we now say it, because we saw the mistake Peter made, we now know when we say wash all of me is a request for Jesus to transform us from those who have been separated from God and from abundant life into those who are now inextricably connected to life and love. Oh, you're kind of quiet. I just told you something good. You are connected to life and love. Jesus shows us love. And in the showing us love, Jesus serves us. Jesus touches us. Jesus blesses us. In doing that, Jesus shows us love. And now, we get to go and show the world love. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. By the way, that's exactly what people ask us over and over again. People who are hurting, people who are lost, people who are broke, people who are broken in some kind of way, the people who are poor, they keep coming to the church and say, I want to know what love is. And I want you to show me. And what does the church do? Say, but you got to be like us. You got to do it this way. No. Every day, people want to know what love is. Are we going to show them? Are we going to serve them? Spirit and in truth. They beheld his glory. The glory is of God's only Son. And yet, when Jesus lowered himself to wash their feet, they almost missed what was going on. When they experience the crucifixion, the resurrection, and the ascension, the hour that Jesus has been telling about, what Jesus said and did that last night, in that last supper, will be a call to them now to love and serve just the way he did. It's all on them now. That night, in the washing of their feet, Jesus was bequeathing them a model and of faith and ministry that they were supposed to take out in the world. They are now being called to take on the work that Jesus had begun. And therein lies what we now have as followers of Jesus. We have been bequeathed a life of service that Jesus modeled. On the other side of Lent, when we rise with Jesus in victory, some people already rush that way. But one thing we understand, we will be ready to witness to God's presence. But only if we accept the love that Jesus gives. Oh, sometimes we fear and we reject the love that Jesus offers. Some people told us we're not worthy of it. Some people told us that, oh, it's too hard work. If you do it, you got to serve somebody. We make the same mistake that Peter made. We fear that it doesn't look right, or that it doesn't make sense, or I probably just will be uncomfortable having to serve people I can't stand. But even after we come to our senses and we accept communion with Jesus, when Jesus touches us and cleans us, when Jesus communes with us such that we are in relationship with him, we are no longer just learners. We're not even seekers anymore. We are witnesses. We are children of light. We are transformed. And as the transformed, we become those who serve. Jesus told them exactly what he had done. For I have set you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. I have set you as an example. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. Now, I don't want to close without giving you another issue that we have to confront in this text. It's very clear, and sometimes we rush over it to get to the part where, ooh, Jesus loves us. Jesus serves us. But I want you to take note that Jesus also washed the feet of Judas, the disciple who would betray him. Jesus selflessly served and gave himself to one, Judas, who refused to accept what Jesus offered. Jesus was committed to a disciple who refused the very communion that Jesus so wanted with all of us. Now, I hope you heard what I said. Jesus washed, Jesus gave, Jesus committed, no matter what Judas did or was going to do. I want to know what love is. Jesus just showed us. And so when you go to some religious person and you go to some other church and they tell you that I can't show you love because of who you love, you better go somewhere else. Because if Jesus can wash the feet of the man who will betray him, you can at least wash the foot of the people who say, I want to know what love is. Wash all of us. Wash all of us. So that we may know the deep and selfless love that you give so freely, Jesus. I hope that is our prayer. I hope that as we continue to think about this story, as we look at that picture of the Last Supper and open our imagination about what happened that night, I hope that we see that love shining through. I hope you see that Jesus is showing all of us what love is, and that it is love and service. And by the way, love and service with conditions, it's not love. It's economics. Love that comes with strings attached, it's not love. It's a transaction. And there's nothing wrong with economics and transactions. They're neutral. But if you want to show love, we want to know love, let Jesus wash our feet. And then we'll turn around. Let's go out and wash feet. Wash all of me. Wash all of us so that we will know what love is. Amen.